sat down for dinner tonight without thinking twice about it. You opened a fridge, pulled something out, maybe heated it up. You had options, dozens of them. You probably complained anyway. But for nearly the entire span of human existence, dinner was not a choice. It was a hunt. It was a gamble. It was sometimes the difference between your bloodline continuing and your bloodline ending right there in the dirt. What ancient humans actually ate would disturb you, not because it was disgusting, because of how much it explains about you right now. Start with the obvious assumption. Most people, when they imagine ancient human food, picture meat, big roasted hunks of mammoth over a fire, a muscular ancestor tearing into a leg bone, the apex predator narrative, strong, dominant, carnivorous. That picture is almost entirely wrong. Researchers like Amanda Henry at the Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology spent years examining the fossilized dental plaque of our ancient ancestors. What she found stuck in those ancient teeth tells a completely different story. Plant starches, grass seeds, underground tubers, the kind of food you walk past without noticing. Your ancestors were not apex predators. They were extreme opportunists. Think about what that actually means. An opportunist eats what is available. An opportunist does not wait for the perfect meal. An opportunist will eat a rotting carcass that a lion abandoned 3 days ago if that is what keeps them alive. And your ancestors did exactly that. For the vast majority of human prehistory, your ancestors' diet was dominated by plant foods, roots, leaves, seeds, bark, tubers, nuts, berries, insects, and yes, meat when they could get it. But meat was not the daily staple the movies suggest. Meat was a bonus, a windfall, something the whole group celebrated when it happened. Here is where it gets genuinely strange. The diet of early Homo sapiens and our predecessors was not just nutritionally varied, it was radically different depending on where they lived, what season it was, and what had happened to the local ecosystem in the last few days. A group living near a river in East Africa 200,000 years ago ate almost nothing like a group living near the coast of South Africa at the same time. Anthropologist Richard Wrangham at Harvard University has spent decades arguing that what truly changed human eating was not hunting and not the shift to plants. It was fire. Cooking changed everything. And he means that almost literally. Before cooking, the human jaw was larger, the gut was longer, digestion took enormous energy. Raw food requires your body to work incredibly hard to extract nutrients. When your ancestors began cooking food, something remarkable happened to the human body. The jaw shrank, the gut shortened, energy was freed up. And that freed energy went somewhere very specific. It went to the brain. Wrangham's hypothesis, detailed in his book Catching Fire, suggests that cooking food is one of the primary drivers of human brain expansion. You are not smarter than a chimpanzee simply because of genetics. You may be smarter in part because your ancestor figured out how to apply heat to food before eating it. The caloric efficiency of cooked food allowed your brain to grow in a way that raw food simply could not support. Let that sit for a moment. Your intelligence, the mind you are using right now to process this sentence, may be partly a consequence of someone 1,000,000 years ago putting a root vegetable in a fire. But cooking was not universal, and even where it existed, the range of foods your ancient ancestors consumed was so extreme it would be considered survival eating by modern standards.
Insects were a major caloric source. Termites, grubs, beetle larvae, caterpillars. High in protein, fat, and micronutrients. Easy to harvest in enormous quantities. Multiple studies of modern hunter-gatherer groups like the Hadza of Tanzania, studied extensively by anthropologist Frank Marlowe, show that the Hadza eat over 800 distinct plant and animal species across a year. 800! Your grocery store has maybe 30,000 products, but they are made from a handful of crops: corn, wheat, rice, soy, sugar. The modern diet, despite its apparent variety, is nutritionally narrower than what a single Hadza forager consumes across a few months. Think about what that means for your body.
Your digestive system, your microbiome, your metabolic wiring, all of it evolved across hundreds of thousands of years, eating hundreds of different species. Then, roughly 10,000 years ago, agriculture happened, and within a geological eye blink, the human diet collapsed into a handful of domesticated crops and a few domesticated animals. Skeletal evidence from early agricultural populations tells a grim story. Researcher Clark Spencer Larson at Ohio State University has documented this transition extensively. When humans shifted from foraging to farming, average height dropped. Dental cavities exploded. Bone density decreased. Iron deficiency appeared at scale. Infectious disease increased dramatically because sedentary populations living close together with domesticated animals created perfect conditions for pathogen transfer. Agriculture did not improve human health, not immediately, not for thousands of years. What it did was allow population density to increase. More food in one place meant more people could survive in one place. And more people meant more complexity, more division of labor, more specialization, eventually writing, cities, empires. The world you live in is downstream of that trade, a trade where your ancestors gave up nutritional richness in exchange for caloric reliability. Your body never fully adjusted. That craving you feel for fat and sugar is not a character flaw. It is a survival program that has not received the update that the environment changed. For nearly the entire history of your species, finding them in large quantities was rare, valuable, and urgent. Now they are in everything, every aisle, every drive-through, every vending machine. And your ancient reward system does not know what to do with that. The ancient human diet was not a clean, optimized regimen. It was chaotic, it was seasonal, it was sometimes desperate. Your ancestor did not sit down to a balanced plate. They ate what the land gave them that day, and they were grateful for it, and their bodies were built for exactly that kind of unpredictability. That unpredictability is gone now, and some researchers believe the removal of that variability, that metabolic stress and rest cycle, that feast and famine rhythm, is itself part of why modern metabolic disease is so prevalent. Your body was built for scarcity interrupted by abundance. It got permanent abundance instead. There is something else, something that rarely makes it into polite conversations about ancestral eating. Your ancestors ate the whole animal, not just the muscle meat that fills modern supermarket shelves. The organs, the marrow, the brain, the eyes. They cracked bones to extract the fat inside. They boiled cartilage. They ate things that modern food culture has labeled disgusting and discarded. Those parts happen to be among the most nutrient-dense components of an animal. The liver alone contains more concentrated nutrition per gram than almost any food that exists. Your ancestors knew this, not intellectually, but bodily. They went for the organs first. And the plant foods they ate were not the cultivated, sweetened, oversized versions that line modern produce sections. Wild plants are bitter, tough, fibrous. They contain compounds that are mildly toxic in large doses because those plants evolved defenses against being eaten. Your ancestors ate them anyway, in rotation, in variety, in the kind of diverse quantities that fed an enormous diversity of gut bacteria. Your gut microbiome, the ecosystem of trillions of microorganisms living inside you right now, is designed for that diversity. Studies of modern hunter-gatherer populations show a gut microbiome diversity that is dramatically higher than that of people living in industrialized societies. Researchers believe that the collapse of that diversity is connected to the rise of autoimmune disorders, inflammatory diseases, and mental health conditions at a population level. The bacteria that were supposed to be there are missing because the food that fed them is gone. So here you are, sitting where you are sitting right now, descended from creatures who sprinted across savannas, dug roots out of dry earth, cracked open bones with rocks, cooked tubers in fire pits, and ate 800 species across a single year. Your body remembers all of it, not consciously, not in any way you can access by thinking about it, but in your cravings, your digestion, your immune responses, your mood swings, your energy crashes after a meal that is mostly refined carbohydrates. The ancient human, at the ancestor of you, knew exactly what to eat. They had no choice but to know. The land told them, the seasons told them, their bodies told them. Tonight, when you open that fridge, you have more options than any human who has ever lived, and yet your body is still running software written for a world that no longer exists. You sat down for dinner tonight without thinking twice about it. Your ancestors spent most of their lives thinking of almost nothing else.